Hey guys, let me show you how to make this simple pendant. To start off, you're going to need to cut two 12-inch long pieces of 18 gauge copper. To join these pieces, I'm using 20 gauge half round, and I'm kind of eyeballing about how long I need this. I would think I did about 3/4 of an inch, but you could probably get away with half an inch. After they're joined, go ahead and snip off your ends and clamp them down to secure them. Before securing them, you may want to measure to make sure both ends are about the same length. I measured mine afterwards, but if you are a little off, you should be able to wiggle it in one direction or the other. Find the half point between your wires and make a bend, and this is where your gem is going to sit. While flat on the table, slide your gem into place and bend your wire around it. Before shaping the top, I like to then bend the tail pieces towards the outside. This way, when you do form your bail, these wires won't clash when they come together. Going back to the flat surface, form the wires around the top of your gem, and I like to use some flat pliers to gently bend these in and try to do it as evenly as possible. As you can see, one of my wires was missed. I'm going to go back in with my flat nose pliers and also take this time to work on the symmetry of the wires. When I'm happy with the symmetry, I'll go back in and push my wires together and check it with my stone to see if everything looks good. The next step is to fan your wires out so that they are sitting next to each other and not on top of each other. Make sure the bottom back wire is pushed towards the inside and the top wire is pushed towards the outside. This should lead to all of your 4 wires lining up straight for the bail and should look something like this. Use your 20 gauge half round to connect all 4 wires straight in a line. You'll only need to do 3 to 5 revolutions and won't need a piece of wire that is long as the one that I have in the video. Use your flat nose plier to flatten the wires into place, and then make sure to clip them on the inside, basically the front side of your pendant. This will cause them to be hidden on the inside of the bail. After clipping, also make sure to secure them by stamping them down with the flat nose pliers. Turn your pendant to the back and use your flat nose pliers to make a little bend on each side. This will create something like a shelf for your crystal to sit on. Flip your frame back to the front and just check to make sure everything fits and sits where it needs to. The next step is to make similar bends with the front wire. Take your needle nose pliers and make tiny little bends on both sides of the front wires, and this will create a side rail to keep your gem sitting in place. However, we still haven't secured the front. This is just for the sides and the back. Our next step is to create the bail. I have some bail making pliers, but you can literally use anything that is long and round like this stick right here. If you're concerned about your wires staying in place, you can also use some scrap wire to connect all 4 pieces before you make this bend, and it'll make it so that the wires kind of don't bend out of place slightly on you. You want to bend the wires all the way forward and down. I like to apply a little bit of pressure on it at this point to bring the bail in a little bit closer, and then I attached my little security scrap wire. Like I said, you could do this beforehand. If you haven't done it already, you could do it now because of the next step, you definitely want these to stay in place. After your bail wires are secure at the top, you can start to split the 4 wires into 2 sets of 2 going to each side. Pick a side, any side you want to start with, and frame the wires to your stone. You want to kind of create a memory of where these wires are going to be and how they're going to sit. After you have your bend, you can slightly raise these wires up off the crystal. You want to keep your bend, you're just raising it up, and at the tip you're creating a bend inward. This is going to guide these wires into that hole you have at the bottom. And once you get those wires through, do not pull them, you want to push those wires in. So you're trying to push them back in and reclaim that shape that you made in the very beginning. Now, don't be afraid to fiddle around with this, because I did do a couple of clips off screen until I was happy with it. But when you are happy with it, carefully maneuver and manipulate these back wires so that they create a bend upwards. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the same steps for the other side. I'm going to record just in case you want to, see a second time how it's done. If you already got it the first time, you can go ahead and fast forward through this part. But yeah, we're just going ahead and doing the second side in the same way we did the first side. When you're done, you should have wires sticking up like this, and at this point you can remove your scrap wire from the bail. I recommend doing the next step on your shorter side. Carefully take two wires and you want to fold them over, not so much bend, but fold them over and create this effect. And you will have to finagle it a little bit here, but create a bend as you fold it over and try to replicate this look. I just cut it close with how much wire I had, so which is why I said you could go up to 14 inches if you're worried, but I had just enough to finish up this design. You want to fold those tips in, and you want to make sure that they are hidden from that front. You want to make sure that that little clipping is hidden behind your design. So you may have to go back in with needle nose pliers or bent nose nose pliers and make sure that those wires are tucked in and that the design is coming out enough to hide it. Rinse and repeat on the second side, and I'm going to record so that you have another reference to how I did it. Because it is 18 gauge square, these bottom bends can be a little difficult, but with a little pressure you can hold it on one side and then bend on the other side and finagle it a little bit afterwards. Finish these last tucks, you're pretty much finished. You can, probably finagle and fix little things here and there. Here I'm tucking in those wire ends to make sure that they're hidden behind my design. But as you can see, we are pretty much finished. Let's go ahead and compare it to the first, and there we go. I hope you like. Please enjoy making, and hope to see you again soon.